Welcome to Ramblings with Joe. It's been a minute since I've had a podcast. I had a vacation and now I'm out of town doing a school, training new drivers. I'd like to talk about the whole flock thing that's going on right now. Kind of saw this coming. If you've watched my videos, you know I've talked about the flock system quite a few times. They are starting to come to everybody's attention, really. The people that support them are very upset, I imagine, because they're tearing them down. They are taking the flock cameras down, and they're catching a few of the people that are doing it, and a lot of the people they're not catching. Had a conversation with Grok about this, just kind of trying to figure out where we were on this front. It's my personal belief that flock cameras and the use of the cameras are simply a way to bypass the government's responsibility to obey the Fourth Amendment. The freedom to travel, if you will. We should not be hindered by the government. And the reason they are using the Flock Corporation, whatever the parent company is, I don't know. The reason they're using it is so that they don't have to have those lawsuits come against them. Because they can claim we're just subscribers to this service. Well, no, you're not. You are the structure that allows this service to happen. So the last time I looked, there are between 80 and 100,000 cameras on public property, not on private property. There's a small amount on private property, but the majority of these are on public property, on property owned by the government. And the idea that you're going to say that we're not responsible because it's not our company, it's not the government, it is a private organization, is a crock of crap. You are supporting this company and you are allowing them to put these cameras on public property owned by the government so that you can bypass the Fourth Amendment. Any admission or workaround of that is simply that, a workaround of trying to bypass the laws so that you have an easier time doing the police work. I made a video recently using Grok. I thought it was hilarious and I sent it to my wife. I'll stick it in here for you about the next step in making policing easier. And I think you'll get a charge out of that. And let's go to that video.
Flock now offers car marking for easier identification and spotting for the LEO who can't be bothered to read plates, your choice of 5 neon colors.
And we're back. It's not a good thing to have the government surveilling its citizens all the time. A lot of the people are saying that support this movement that it's just a tag reader. It's just looking at the license plates and reading those. It's not true. It's not true by any stretch of the imagination. And it's not true that it's not even designed to be that. It is simply surveillance. Originally, maybe tag reader. Now it's much more than that. And I'm going to kind of explore right here how that happens. So yes, it can read tags and it does keep the tags and it keeps the photos on there. Localized server supposedly, but I think it's going to the cloud. There's a couple YouTubers out there to explain how all this works. I'm not going to go into that big a detail, but it reads tags. It does do that. In addition to that, it can kind of take a fingerprint of the totality of your car. The dents, the scratches, the luggage racks, the missing tail light, the bowed dash, that kind of thing. It can see this stuff and it can track your car through that. Does it aim its cameras at the people driving or sitting in the passenger seat? And the short answer to that is that it does not aim at the people. However, the same way if I take a picture of 3 people standing in front of a statue and there's 18 people behind them before the statue, I've taken the picture of those 18 people. So when you take a picture of the car and you get the car from the front and the back or wherever, the side, you're going to get a picture of the people. Now, Grok doesn't have facial recognition software. They say, their representatives say this. However, if something's uploaded to the cloud, you can run facial recognition software on it all you want. It's just another either video or in this case, supposedly, you're going to hear that a lot from me, supposedly, a still shot, just a picture. Well, if the camera catches people behind the wheel and it is just a picture of that person, government entities private entities, private businesses, Flock itself has the ability to run facial recognition on those images. Are they lying? Flock doesn't have facial recognition built in? Who the hell knows? It is difficult to get any real answers that we as the population can trust because it is a private business and they are not, they're not subject to every FOIA request. Now you can put in a request and you can get the information from the Flock camera about yourself and about a specific other individual if they are a public individual, from what I understand, depending upon your state. 80 to 100,000 cameras have been put out. This is phenomenally surveilling. This is the most surveillance that America has ever had on them. And it is pretty much unfettered by government regulations. I'm not a big government fan, obviously. I'm a libertarian. However, I do believe we need to have a law that specifically addresses this. And I think the law should be, there shall be no surveillance of the people without a... Wait, we already have that law. It's called the Fourth Amendment. This is a violation of the Fourth Amendment. It's keeping everybody from not even doing illegal things. But when you're driving and you're going, for instance, I came to Greensboro, North Carolina. From my hometown here, I do this run, let's see, it's been about 8 months since the last time I did this run. Yeah. Okay, is that suspicious? Is that the government going to come and knock on this door at the hotel I'm in and ask me what's going on? Why are you up here? Well, or maybe they're just going to call my employer and say, hey, does he have a reason to be up there? You get my point? This is all running through the back of my mind. I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking, well, that's a violation of the Fourth Amendment. That's what that is. There's no doubt in my mind, and there should be no doubt in anybody's mind. And I think that they are finding out now, more and more people are very angry about this. It's having a chilling effect on the movements of the citizens of the country. Whether you're doing something illegal or not, you know you are being surveilled, and you may be making decisions based upon that information. Abuse. Let's talk about abuse. Seems to be coming up quite a bit lately, right? The police officers that have been busted abusing the system, I think the most common thing is the police officers are stalking their exes on the system or prospective love interests. Yeah, let's not worry about that right now, but let's back up just a little bit and look at what we just said. They're using the system to stalk. Did they have to get a warrant to stalk? Did they have to get permission from their supervisors to stalk? I'm a pro Second Amendment guy, and there's a saying that if you outlaw guns, only outlaws will have guns. If you tell these police officers that they have complete access to the system, but only use it this way, without any checks or balances, do you think that's what they're going to do? Or do you think they're going to use it for everything they want? I think they'll just continue to keep finding these violations. Now let's look at the Flock company. We know the police are violating the Fourth Amendment by doing this and abusing the system. Let's look at the Flock company. How many violations are they making? And the answer is, we don't know. We have no idea. I do know that there were some Flock employees that were busted looking at a young, I think they were teenager, gymnasts in a park. This is the world you want to live in? This is the country that we want to have, where this company, this corporation is allowed to monitor whatever they want, and their employees have this kind of access to our personal lives. And I understand they're in public and we have no expectation of privacy in the public. This is beyond that. This is a breaking of the Fourth Amendment is what this is. I did photography for a while as a hobby, and I understand what the expectation of privacy is. But you're in public, and that doesn't mean that you don't have personal business in public. Depending upon which party's in power, the Flock system could be used in different ways. For instance, if there is a protest that gets violent by the right, the left may go hard at it. But the right may, if they're in power, they may say, oh, let's just not look at those things. Or vice versa. That's the real question here. How much surveillance do you want? There have been some lawsuits concerning the flock cameras. So far, it's kind of been split. Some of the courts are saying they're legal. Some of them are saying they're not. And one particular justice said that they're legal now, but they could very quickly become illegal, violate the Fourth Amendment. I think that when the first one went up and they started, following people, they violated the Fourth Amendment. That's my personal opinion. Obviously, I'm not a justice. That's in the courts. We'll find out. I don't have a lot of faith in our court system because it seems like it's a very political arm of the government now. But we'll see what they say. I think we have to depend upon juries for this. We have to depend upon, it's ugly, but this is one of the things that we are going to have to depend upon, which is jury nullification. If a citizen is arrested and a citizen is taken to trial and that citizen requests a jury during deliberations can find that yes, indeed, the defendant is guilty, but they have the legal ability to set aside that verdict and give an innocent decision. So if the defendant is found innocent, he walks. This process is called jury nullification. There are some caveats to that, which are very important to understand if you are put on a jury concerning flock cameras and flock camera destruction or something along those lines. If you talk to your fellow jurors about nullification, and one of the jurors informs the judge that is presiding over the case, he can remove you from the jury. So the only way jury nullification works is if you don't talk about nullification until it's time to go in and talk about it privately, until you deliberate. And at that point, you can don't use the word nullification, but you can tell the juries when it's time to take a vote that you would like to set aside the verdict of guilty and give him an innocent verdict because the Flock Corporation is violating the Fourth Amendment through government means. This is really our strongest tool as citizens when it comes to government overreach of the law. So the flock cameras are being torn down. I don't want you to get this wrong. They're not being torn down at a huge rate. There's between 80 and 100,000 cameras out there, and there's the best guesstimate right now is like 50 of them have been destroyed. They're panicking at the flock company, and these agencies that are involved with using the flock cameras are panicking because they realize that they're now coming to the forefront of everybody's kind of zeitgeist, and they understand that this is going to be a battle for them to maintain these systems. I don't want people to break the law. That goes across the board. I don't want government agencies to break the law. So the flock cameras are a violation of the Fourth Amendment. And I think that if the court just does what's just, that's where it's going to end. And I think at that point, all these flock cameras have got to come down. 100,000 flock cameras? I really encourage you to research these flock cameras. Find out what they're capable of doing. Do not just take law enforcement's word that these are nothing more than fancy license plate readers. They do much more than that, and they have the ability to do much more than that. For instance, if, like I said earlier, if they take a picture, those pictures can be searched by outside sources, just for ease of terminology. Other apps can look at those pictures, use facial recognition, for example, to find people. It's a very sad time to think that we are being surveilled to this length. I don't want criminals to get away. I don't want children to be hurt. I don't want any criminal to get away with the crime that they are committing. I also don't want to give up my freedoms, and I don't want you to have to give up your freedoms. I'm very curious as to where everybody's standing on this. I feel like the Democrats and the Republicans should be able to come together on this one topic, on this one thing. We should be able to come together as a nation and say, stop. This is too far. You've gone too far. back up. We all know that the government never backs off of using power that they garner. We all understand that the government is going to always expand its use of technology and powers. That's why I stand hard on this issue. This is why this line in the sand is so important. Stop. You took an oath. Stop. There are many towns now that are having their flock cameras removed. I hope that is a beginning trend and it blossoms into truly removing all the flock cameras. I'm not sure what the next episode's going to be about, either AI displacement or student debt. Maybe student debt. I haven't touched on that in a while. But let me know what you think about the flock cameras in the comments and whether you want me to do AI displacement or student debt. I'm going to go back to work. I don't know when I'll be able to do another video. It might be another week because I don't think I'm going to be done with the school for another week. I'm having a good time up here. I love seeing the young people learn. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. I hope that you go out and you find a flock-free day. I hope that you find peace, love, and dream. Until next time, Lahi Throat.